Hey guys, it is Carly here bringing you another update for Blu-ray/DVD/books. Surprisingly, there are no VHS in this update this time around. If you watch my last update, you will see that I found quite a bit of VHS last month at my local Goodwill. I got pretty lucky with that, but unfortunately they haven't really had anything new or exciting. We basically bought everything that they had, and they haven't really put anything else out recently, so that's kind of unfortunate, but either way, I still found some cool stuff, and, I have a decent amount here to show. Sorry if I feel, or, rather if I look or sound sick. It is because I was pretty sick yesterday and the day before, but for some reason with me, a sickness does not last long, so I'm just now getting over it. But anyway, I apologize for that, but I'm just going to go ahead and get right into this. And to start off, I'm going to go through some books I found. And first up, we have The Babysitter by R.L. Stine. And I was pretty excited to find this book because I coincidentally was just talking about this book with, I think, JP on how back in middle school I had taken it out of the school library, and I was almost finished with it when I happened to lose it somewhere. I don't know where. I must have left it in a classroom or something like that, and then I was just afraid to go back to the library the whole year because I was afraid I was going to get in trouble for losing the book because the librarian was a psychopath to begin with. And I ended up going back in, I remember, at the end of the year, and they actually had the book back in the library, so someone must have found it and replaced it for me, but unfortunately I did not get to finish it because it was the end of the year and I just didn't check it back out. But now I have it, and I will probably end up rereading it even though it is a kid's book. I'm just, kind of curious now to how it ends, and just for the nostalgia purposes, I would like to see if I really remember how the story went to begin with. So this was a pretty cool find. I was not expecting it. Next up, we have Stephen King's Cujo here. This is pretty cool because I just found Misery recently, and this is the same, print or whatever you want, same cover, I guess you could say, in this series to look like this. It's the same one as Misery, basically the same style with the same picture on the back and everything like that. Goodwill does this thing where they put these special tags on certain books, and they're more expensive, but it's only $1 more, $3.99, can't really complain, and it was a pretty cool find since it looks similar to the Misery book. So this is definitely one that I'll be reading. I've actually never seen the movie Cujo, but it's one of the more popular ones, so I'll definitely end up reading this. It takes me forever to read a book, but I will get to it eventually. Then lastly for books, we have a big one here, and that is Christine. This was a pretty cool find because it is the original cover, I guess you would say the first print of the book, and once again it was priced a little more expensive than the usual Goodwill books, but I was pretty excited to find this because I do love the movie Christine, and I was always pretty curious on how the book was. I hear it's pretty freaking good. This is definitely a bigger book, but I'll still get around to reading it because I am actually interested in this story. So that's it for the books. Then I'm going to go along to the Blu-rays, and first up, once again, I always show these even though I do an unboxing video, but they're the horror pack movies. And first up, we have Dead Hooker in the Trunk, which Jerry and I still have to go ahead and do our podcast on this. We just haven't had the time, and I have not watched this yet, but I'm super excited for it because, as I've said before, I really enjoyed American Mary, and this is obviously by the same people who made that, so I've heard good things about it. Super low budget, do-it-yourself type of movie, but I really want to check this one out, and I probably will in the next week or so. Next up, then, we had A Brush with Death and Harvest of Fear. This is a double feature that I got in the horror pack. Once again, still haven't checked this one out yet, or these two out rather. Still sealed and everything. Don't really have much to say about them. I have no idea if these are good movies, if they're low quality movies, or what. Never really heard of them, so I'm pretty interested to watch them just because I've never seen them or heard of them. After that, we have The Fly, which I already own on DVD, so, it was a little disappointing to get a movie that I already owned, but luckily it was on DVD, and I'm going to probably give my DVD copy away to my mom or a friend or something like that. So, no problem there. And it is a great movie. I've only seen it one time, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of the only movies that really grossed me out in parts and actually made me gag. So, definitely a great film, one that I'm looking forward to revisiting. After that, we have Chernobyl Diaries, which is another one that I already owned on DVD, so I'll probably give away my DVD copy. And, this one was okay. It's definitely not one of my favorites. I've seen it, I think, twice now. Saw it for the first time at a sleepover, and I thought it was, pretty creepy in some parts, but it's just, not one of my favorites, just kind of an average watch, something you might want to put on for, like, background purposes and things like that, but not really something I would really go back to a whole lot, but I probably will revisit it just because I now have the Blu-ray. After that, we have Blood Widow. This is a slasher film of sorts. I'm supposed to cover this on the Cinema Attack podcast. I believe they want to do that for episode 12 or something, so that will be coming up shortly. Just thought I would pick it up ahead of time, and I'm pretty curious about it. I mean, the killer in this just looks very interesting with that mask and things like that, and I believe it's a female, so I'm pretty excited to see what this one is all about. It's one that I've never heard of before. Derek actually told me about it, so I'm kind of excited for this one, not gonna lie. Then after that, we have Shudder. This is a movie I saw in theaters when it came out. I think it was probably in like 5th grade or something like that. I forget what year it came out. I can't really, 2008. So actually I think I would have been in 6th grade at that point. And yeah, I don't really remember this a whole lot. I remember thinking it was pretty creepy. It's kind of like The Grudge and The Ring. It even says it's from the executive producers of The Grudge and The Ring on the cover, and I was pretty creeped out by it back in the day. Don't really remember it a whole lot. It might not even be that great, but I got this at a Cash and Culture, and, at those places, it's buy 3 and you get $2 off all your things, so I just needed a third movie to pick up, so decided to grab this. I am pretty curious to rewatch it because I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theaters, which is now 10 years ago. Then after that, finally for the Blu-rays, we have Misery, the Scream Factory edition. I picked this up at Walmart because they had it really, really cheap. I think it was like $12 or $13 or something like that. And, you can't beat that for a special edition Scream Factory. And I actually did not own Misery on DVD or Blu-ray or VHS or anything like that, surprisingly. I realized that whenever I picked up the book, actually, that this is one that I never have owned. It's one that used to be on TV quite a lot, so I never found a purpose to buy it, but I'm pretty excited to own it and to revisit it because I really, really enjoy Misery. It's one that I watched quite a lot when I was a kid. Alright, moving along to the DVD pile here. To start off, we have a couple Masters of Horror, and first we have The Screwfly Solution. Never seen this one. I'm trying to collect all the Masters of Horror in their single releases, and I think this is from the 2nd season, and this would be the only one from the 2nd season that I own so far, and I know the 2nd season is pretty hit or miss. I hear some of them are really bad, and I'm not sure if this is one of the better ones or one of the weaker ones, so we'll have to see when I watch it, but I'm pretty curious about it. Next up, I actually just watched this one a couple minutes ago, and that is Dear Woman. I honestly, this is from the 1st season, by the way, but I honestly did not care for this too much. It is more comedic than horror, and, that's fine sometimes, but I didn't really, the comedy just didn't really jive with me. I thought it was very cheesy at times, and I just didn't care for it. I thought the story could have been better maybe if they went more of a horror, put more horror in it than comedy, but I didn't care for it. I gave it about a 5 out of 10. That's at John Landis's one. Next up we have Chocolate. Did not watch this one yet. Don't know if it's good or not. I know most of them in the 1st season are pretty solid. This might have been one of the weaker ones. I don't really recall, but haven't watched it yet, so I'm pretty curious. Luckily, I got the slipcovers for this one and Dear Woman. I wish I could get the slips for all of them, because unfortunately these are the only two that I do have that have the slips, but I usually don't care about slip covers, but these ones are pretty cool looking. Then finally, for the Masters of Horror, we have Pelts. Once again, don't really know anything about this one, haven't seen it yet or anything like that, so very curious to check it out, because you know, I for the most part I've liked all these Masters of Horror. I have not watched them all in order, not that it matters or anything, but the ones I have seen I've liked for the most part. There's only about probably like one or two that I don't really care for at all. Then after that we have Freddy vs. Jason. Once again picked this up at a cash-in culture, and this is one of the only Friday the 13th movies that I do not own besides Jason X, so I figured I would finally pick it up. It's not that I have any issues with this movie, it's just one that you know, I always have skipped on, but figured I'd finally grab it so I can try to finally complete that collection. And I haven't seen this one in years. It's another one I used to watch quite a bit when I was a kid, but I'd be curious to rewatch it. I remember being just like okay with it even when I was younger, like not loving it or anything like that, but it was on TV so much that I would always go back to it. Next up we have Pulse. Don't really know much about this. I know it's obviously a supernatural film. I think there's a foreign version of it and an American version of it, but JP actually told me to grab this because we were at the cash-in culture together, and I asked what I should get to complete the 3 movies that I was buying, and he said this one is pretty solid, so I'm curious to check it out. And then we have Anatomy. This is one that I know I've heard people talk about before, and JP said he thought it was okay, and the plot just sounded pretty interesting to me, and I also enjoy the cover here. I just like the you know, the red color of it. I think it's pretty cool, so decided to pick it up and give it a shot. I feel like it might be one that I'll enjoy, but who knows. Then we have The Woods. This is another one that JP told me I should go ahead and grab, and this one was directed by Lucky McKee, so that right away got my attention because obviously I'm a big fan of May and his Masters of Horror episode and The Woman, so I figured why not? I'll probably enjoy this because I've liked all the work that I've seen him done so far. Then we have a movie that I picked up for the purpose of the new Body Bags podcast that I do, and that is Deep Red, the Blue Underground edition. Austin picked this one for the theme week on Body Bags, and I had to pick it up as well so that we could review it for our first episode of the Body Bags podcast. And you know, it's a Dario Argento movie. A lot of people consider this as like best giallo, but for me, I'm not a huge fan of giallos, but I will say this was probably the best one that I have seen. But other than that, giallos really just aren't my thing. I find them to be kind of convoluted at times, hard to follow, and just boring. I'm not gonna lie, like they're just not my favorite, but I did enjoy this one because it had some creepy moments and good gore, and the characters you could actually I didn't have as much trouble following who the characters were in this one as I have with other movies, so not a bad film. Then we have Drive Me to Hell. Picked this one up because I was on the Horror Mafia podcast as well just this past week, and this is one of the movies. Oddly enough, this is also a pick by Austin because Austin was also on that episode with me, and I gotta say I'd never seen this one before. This is from 2009, and it's one that I've just passed up for years, and I really enjoyed it. It is a really fun movie. You know, it's got some good gross out scenes, and it's PG-13, and you know, it does not feel PG-13 at all. It's by Sam Raimi, obviously, and it definitely has that Evil Dead feel to it in parts, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely has great rewatchability to it as well, so I'm glad I finally got to check this one out. And then lastly, guys, we have a movie called Sleepover Nightmare, and this is the final movie that I picked up for the Cinema Attack podcast because they are doing slashers, and I think it might be independent slashers, and this was the third pick, so decided to finally grab it, and not gonna lie, it looks kind of horrible just based on the cover and the title alone, but we'll see. I do like slashers, even if they are bad. I feel like there's still some entertainment value to them, so very curious to check this one out just because I've never seen or heard of it before, and it's only 81 minutes too, so it's not like it's going to be a waste of time or anything like that, but I might be surprised by it, who knows. Yeah, so that is the update for March. Thank you guys once again for joining me, and once again I apologize if I seemed sick or anything like that, if my voice sounds weird or anything of that sort, but you know, I just kind of felt like crap the past 2 days. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me once again for this update, and I will see you in my next video.